Hi, I'm Lisa, and I will be introducing our work, Improved YOSO Randomness Generation with Worst-Case Corruptions. This is a joint work with my awesome collaborators, Chen-Da, João, Pratik, and Aravind. To start things off, let us recall why we need randomness in the first place. And the answer is that randomness is truly used everywhere, from ensuring fairness during the green card lottery, to its usage in the clinical trials and financial audits, to numerous applications in the blockchain space. However, note that all these protocols require randomness to satisfy a few important properties. First, it shouldn't be possible to predict the randomness before it is generated. And second, no one should be able to bias this randomness. And this is precisely what we obtain in this work, randomness as a service, which is both unpredictable and unbiasable. Furthermore, our randomness is actually also public, meaning that everyone will be able to see the generated random bits, which is quite useful for quite a few applications. To obtain such randomness, we will be working in a model which is known as YOSO, or You Only Speak Once, with worst-case corruptions, or YOSO WCC for short. This model is tailored to the randomness generation setting, and it is actually a fairly new one. It has been proposed at Crypto 2 years ago. The motivation behind this model is the following. Let's say we wish to have a long-running process which generates randomness. As it is long-running, we allow parties to dynamically join and leave the computation at any point in time. And even more specifically, at each point in time, we will only require one party to be online. As the name says, we consider worst-case corruptions, meaning that out of n consecutive parties, any t can be corrupted. Okay, so in a little bit more detail, in our setting, we will consider sort of a line out of n parties, where parties are activated one after another, and each party speaks only once, meaning that each party comes online, can publish a public message, and send private messages to future parties, and then essentially go offline. Depending on how the message forwarding is implemented in this model, we will consider two different cases. So the first one is known as the execution leaks case. Here, the adversary receives the message upon the execution of a corrupt recipient. The second adversarial model is known as the sending leaks model. Here, the adversary receives the message upon it being sent to a corrupt recipient. Given this model, so given n parties, each with its own sort of randomness, and the adversary who is able to corrupt t parties, our goal will be to generate an unbiased public random bit. Okay, so currently in this model, the only protocols that we have are the information theoretic protocols from the work which introduced this model. These require 60 plus 1 parties in the sending leaks model and 50 parties in the execution leaks model. Unfortunately, the problem is that these information theoretic protocols are very inefficient. So specifically, they require exponential communication and computation complexity. And so in this work, we ask ourselves whether it is possible to design efficient distributed randomness generation in the YOSO WCC model. And specifically, we would like to do so while still optimizing the required number of parties. Okay, so how can we do this? I guess the first very natural idea would be to simply take a traditional round-based protocol and make it compatible with the YOSO WCC setting, meaning that we will try to linearize it in the sense that we will try to obtain the n parties, one speaking after another, and sort of have each party speak only once instead of participating in multiple rounds. Given a traditional R-round protocol, it is very easy to obtain such a linearization by having each party's behavior implemented using R parties, one party for each round of the protocol. Unfortunately, this results in a pretty bad resilience. So we will require n times R parties. However, we tolerate only T corruptions. How can we do better? Well, in our second approach, we utilize the very well-known commit and reveal paradigm. The idea is the following. So let's say we will use T+1 parties, so-called dealers, each of whom contributes to randomness. And we will utilize another two T+1 parties who will be helping us to open the randomness that the dealers committed to. So specifically, each dealer will commit to a random value and send opening information to each receiver. And let's say that we are considering the execution leaks setting, meaning that the adversary only sees the opening information that is being sent to, let's say, party R1 when this party R1 is being executed. Okay, so let's say that we want to count the dealer's value only if the majority of the receivers reveal a correct opening. And let's say that, the final result of the computation is the XOR of all the valid dealers' values. Unfortunately, the problem here is that a malicious dealer in coalition with a malicious receiver can actually bias the output. Consider the following. Let's say that D1 and D2 are honest dealers. So their values will actually be opened honestly, but let's say that D3 and the party R5 are dishonest. What the dealer D3 can do is D3 can now send valid opening information to, let's say, honest parties R1 and R2. This will then publish the correct values. But let's say that D3 does not send anything to R3 and R4. And basically the idea is that now the party R5, which is in coalition with D3, can decide whether to reveal the opening of D3 or not. And so the party R5 can actually decide based on the information that has been published by the prior receivers about the values sent by D1 and D2. Based on this information, R5 can decide whether it wants to open, let's say, the bit 1 that D3 committed to or not. And this way bias the output. Okay, to prevent this from happening, what we intuitively need is we need to have some way of having the dealers fix their contribution before the opening phase begins. And this can be done with the publicly verifiable secret sharing, or PVSS for short. Sorry, there's a P missing, I believe, in the acronym. This is a pretty well-known cryptographic primitive which intuitively satisfies the following properties. First of all, the secret that the dealer shares can be reconstructed by any T+1 parties. And at the same time, any T parties learn nothing about the secret. However, not only that, we now have the property that everyone can verify that the secret is fixed and reconstructible upon the dealer sort of committing to the secret. And finally, the protocols are non-interactive, meaning that the dealer will simply publish a bunch of encryptions and typically some non-interactive zero-knowledge proof showing that these encryptions are decryptable by the recipients, and that these encryptions actually constitute a commitment to a valid secret. Okay, so using this, we can then simply follow our commit and reveal approach, where we had T+1 dealers. Note that out of the T+1 dealers, at most T can be corrupt, and so like there is at least one dealer who is contributing a truly random bit. And we require 2 T plus 1 recipients to ensure that the value of the dealer can be reconstructed. The only problem with this approach is that it requires setup and it requires fairly heavy cryptographic assumptions. For example, we will typically use simulation extractable non-tractor zero knowledge proofs for the PVSS. To remove these assumptions in our second construction, we will utilize not the publicly verifiable secret sharing, but a traditional verifiable secret sharing, which is exactly the same, except that we do not have public verifiability anymore. So our verifiability property now is that if the sharing was successful, the secret is fixed and reconstructible. And our construction is basically based on a well-known Feldman VSS scheme. While we cannot really use Feldman VSS out of the box because it doesn't provide hiding, and so we cannot prove unbiasability in the context of the overall randomness generation. We will sort of adapt the construction by using the Elgamal commitments. And so our protocol looks approximately as follows. Let's say that we want to first start with the traditional setting, meaning that the protocol that I will now show you will be in the round-based setting where parties participate in multiple rounds. Okay, so the first step is that we have the dealer generate 2 random polynomials f1 and f2 with degree t in each variable, and let's say that f1 looks approximately like this and f2 looks like this. Note that in f1 the first coefficient a0 actually encodes the secret s. Okay, now we have the dealer choose a pair of generators G and H and commit to f1 and f2 using this pair. So first we will broadcast G and H, and then we also broadcast the Elgamal commitments to the coefficients of f1 and f2. At the same time, the dealer will send the points f1i and f2i to each party pi. Now each party pi can use the commitments C0 to CT to verify the shares that it received in the exponent. Note that pi can complain if necessary. Now the dealer can publicly respond to the complaints by essentially simply broadcasting the share of pi. Finally, during the reconstruction phase, each pi replaces its share with the one that was broadcast by the dealer in step 6 if need be. And finally, during the reconstruction, each pi can now simply broadcast its share. Note that anyone can use sort of any t+1 verified shares to reconstruct the secret which was encoded at the point 0 of f1. The first 6 steps were the so-called sharing phase, and the last 3 steps constitute the reconstruction phase. Okay, note that this is a traditional round-based protocol, as I mentioned, and this is because, first of all, the dealer comes back once, specifically in round 6 or in step 6, we require dealer to publicly respond to the complaints. And also we have parties pi participate twice. First of all, to verify the shares using the commitment in step 5, and then in steps 7 and 8 to participate in the reconstruction phase. So in order to sort of linearize this VSS, we can simply repeat the whole scheme, except that now we will have sort of 2 versions of the dealer. First of all, we'll have the first sort of dealer part do the exact same work as was done before for the first 4 steps. But now we will have the dealer in step 4 send all the information about the polynomials f1 and f2 to its counterpart d prime. And then we will also have the same for the PIs. So each PI will actually obtain a counterpart p prime I, which will get the information from PI to sort of make use during the reconstruction phase. Note that this construction is actually slightly different, or provides slightly different guarantees from the traditional VSS, in the sense that now we require both dealer D and D prime to be honest in order to ensure the security of the protocol. Finally, with this sort of variation of a VSS construction, we construct our randomness generation protocol as follows. Intuitively, it is possible to do it exactly the same as with PVSS, right? So we will have T+1 executions of VSS, of the sharing phase of the VSS, and the plus the parties who will be participating during the reconstruction phase. However, it is actually possible to do something better to save the number of parties that we use. Specifically, our idea is to sort of pipeline the T+1 executions of the sharing phase. Specifically, we will have the first party perform the protocol, which is being executed by the first dealer of the first VSS. The second party will be performing the sort of role of the first share recipient of the first VSS, and also the role of the dealer in the second VSS, and so on and so forth. For the reconstruction, we will use the same parties for all of the VSS instantiations. Okay, so here are our results. With the PVSS-based construction, assuming PKI and simulation extractableness X, we are able to achieve 3T+2 parties in the standing leaks model and a communication complexity of O of n squared. With the VSS-based construction, we are only assuming Elgamal commitments. Note that in particular we do not assume any setup here. And we obtain 5T+4 parties in the sending leaks model and 4T+4 parties in the execution leaks model. The communication complexity again is O of n squared. And finally, we also implemented and evaluated our protocol and compared it to the state of the art. As you can see in both tables, lower numbers are better, and for the runtime, our scheme outperforms the prior state of the art for values as low as t equal to 6, I believe. And for the communication size, we are actually outperforming the prior state of the art for values as low as t equal to 3. Okay, so in terms of future directions, we believe that this field is actually pretty exciting, and there are numerous of things that we can do. For example, it would be interesting to see if we can further optimize the role complexity, as there is currently a gap between the lower bounds and our constructions. Then again, it would be super interesting to further optimize communication and computation complexity, or also do some coin tossing for specific scenarios, for example, for RSA, or obtain constructions which are post-quantum, which provide post-quantum security. In terms of the model, it would be also interesting to take a look at other primitives, not only randomness generation. For example, can we do DKG or MPC in the YOSO WCC model? This is all I have. Thank you so much.